Good morning, everyone. How is everyone today on this bright and shiny day? Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing? We'll give it 2 more minutes and then we'll get started.
Good morning.
Morning. I hope everyone's doing well. Okay, I have to let my dog in. Hold on. Okay, let's get started. We got a big day again. Today is class 8, financial management. So we are going to learn about insurance policies for businesses and explore financial issues. But first of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about your pitch for next week. So I'm just gonna move ahead. So how do you deliver a pitch that will land you a customer or an investor? You always know that less is more. Like we said in your customer discovery interviews, you should let them talk 80% of the time. I always feel that less is more. Know your audience. For next week, it's just going to be your fellow classmates in Plan for Profit, and we'll have a couple panelists. Right now, I have a banker and a consultant. She does marketing for law firms. So they are both professional services. Create a compelling story, practice, and promote yourself as a smart, savvy business person. So your pitch is going to be your why, your unique value proposition. So the problem is number 1, your solution is number 2, what you think your target market is, if you've been able to narrow that down through your customer discovery interviews, or you can list a number of segments if you're going to assist a couple target market segments. What your marketing strategy will be, so what tools and tactics will you use to reach that target market? And then a call to action. So it can be invest in me, or it can be follow me on Instagram, or if you know of a few partners that I could talk to, that's another call to action. So 2 minutes. I would suggest you write it down. We're not going to have any PowerPoint presentations because I want a level playing field, because some people are really artsy, so their presentations will look good, but I just want to make sure that everyone sounds good. Does anyone have any questions about the 2-minute pitch?
I do.
Yeah.
Can we be less than 2 minutes?
Sure, you can be less than 2 minutes, yes. I just have to hold people to 2 minutes, and I have to be rude. I'm sorry, I do have to cut people off at 2 minutes because we need to allot enough time for everyone to go, everyone to have a turn. If you want to practice, I may be available. I am not sure about my calendar for next week. But Felicitas and we have Maria Almeida here. She's also another advisor, and also is Aisha McBurrows. So you can, if the 3 of you could put your email addresses in the chat. That way people could contact you, and if you could just listen to their pitch, that would be terrific. If you have time next week, I am not sure what everyone's schedule's like. But feel free to give it to someone else, and giving it to another advisor would be helpful because they'll give you some feedback. Okay, so
Mara?
next week will be all pitches.
Mara,
Yes?
could I ask you one question? When we give our pitch, we're talking to a potential investor, or are we talking to a potential customer?
You're talking to, I was going to say just to the group. Let's just say to the
Okay.
group. And so imagine that everyone is your potential customer.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so it's really relaxed. Please do not worry about it. I just would suggest you practice it so you know you're under the 2 minutes. Okay. I'm going to go back. Okay, did anyone have any great things happen last week? I would love to hear.
Hey, Maura. This is Mahen. I signed up a client last week. So
Oh, yes, congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations, Mahan.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was still through a word of mouth or talking, but I did actively think about what I learned from this class and try to apply principles wherever I could. So definitely this class was helpful in refining and making it more appealing to the other side. So thank you.
Congratulations. Anyone else?
Hi, Mara. I have a question actually. Is it possible I change my complaint for my pitch next week?
Pardon, if
Because
you,
so is it okay I change my business? I have an entire different business, which I'm
Wow,
very serious
okay.
about it. And I need to schedule some time whenever you're available this month. I need some help to find a partner to get it launched. So it's about capital evaluation. So when entrepreneurs having some, either they are successful and they want to exit, so they want to sell the business, or a failing business want to get out. So different situations. So my company will focus on how to evaluate the selling price of the business.
Oh,
That can be
wow.
applied to like a clinics, salon, fitness center, small business. So kind of looking at, the revenue model, looking at the client base, looking at a location, a lot of factors. So I am working on financial modeling of different elements. So in fact, my husband helped me on that. So we have some website built, but we need someone to help us from IT or data management perspective to get it more mature. So,
Okay.
so I want to change it. That's why I did not submit any homework yet to you. I'm sorry about it, but that's my, I think I made a decision. I worked hard this weekend, and hopefully I can present next week during our class. I hope that's fine for you.
That's fine. So did you discover this by talking to people, or how did you decide make your switch?
Because I think that's more. I think I really want to do that, make it a real business. I'm serious about it, so that's why I kind of made a different decision to change my business for for this project. Of course, I'm definitely want to make it successful. So sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay.
Okay.
That's great. So as long as you keep doing your market research, right?
Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Oh, welcome, Anna Maria. How are you? So I'm going to give a big welcome to Anna Maria. She's the president of the VD companies. And she will join us today to talk about insurance. Anna Maria is a recognized community and business leader with integrity. She's not only an expert in insurance field, but also enjoys mentoring, business development, and networking with seasoned entrepreneurs and startups to improve their understanding of risks associated with insurance. She also developed a startup division at the VD companies to specifically educate and provide insurance advice for new businesses. Entrepreneurs rely on her unique expertise and customized solutions. So please join me in welcoming Anna Maria.
Thank you. Now, am I going to share it or how are we going to do it?
Sure. I've allowed you to screen share.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Can you see this?
Yes, now we can see your taking the mystery out of business insurance.
Okay. Can you see 2 slides?
We see 2 slides. Yep.
Now you see 1. Okay.
We see 1. Great.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And I understand that most of you are professional services. So I kind of tailored this towards what you really would be interested in. I know a lot of you, or most people, feel like this when they hear about insurance, feel anxious, but hopefully after this, you will feel a lot better. I feel a lot of people don't know what questions to ask when they are calling an agent, and really, that should really not be your issue. When you call someone, they should be asking you questions and find out everything they can about what you're doing. And then follow you along, especially if you're a new business, on what you're doing, because a lot of startups change their services and don't know to call their agent. So I like to talk about, keeping your business healthy. A lot of you probably have doctors or have had them in the past and probably really rely on them for your health, whether it's your physical, mental, or emotional health. And they probably have periodic checkups. They give you good advice and then options. And we all know that if they don't do that, that you could either get more sick, disabled, or even, die. And so you want to look at an insurance agent the same way. There are many agents out there. So if you don't feel comfortable or not getting a response back, find someone else. Again, they should be giving you periodic checkups. They should be giving you advice, and especially options. We feel that most startups don't have a lot of money to spend. So really you should be given the bare basics and then options, and you decide, and you don't have to decide right then and there. You can always add things later. The next thing I like to explain is an independent agent versus a direct writer. An independent agent represents many insurance companies, so they can shop for you. So you've heard of Travelers and Hartford and CNA. And the direct writer has one company, and they've got that's State Farm, Farmers, Allstate, Geico. The independent agent cannot represent State Farm, Geico, or any of those. And the direct writer cannot represent independent insurance companies. So just so you know, because a lot of people when we talk to them, don't understand about this. So that's why I like to explain this in my presentation each time. So the first question that agent should find out is, where's your business? Is it at a co-working space? Do you have a lease? Or is it at a home office? Well, usually at a co-working space or if you are a tenant, you're going to have a lease. And if there's anything that I say that you don't understand, except for this, is never sign a lease or a contract without showing your insurance agent the insurance requirements. I can't tell you how many times, even in the last 3 weeks, where my clients have called us, have shared the insurance requirements with the contract, and the contract was asking for $5 million of liability. Well, if you don't sign it, you can go back to them before that and say, look, this is what I have. Is this okay? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say fine. They're not going to have you pay the $5 million because that is going to be a lot of money. A lot of times, the people that are giving you the contract don't understand insurance either, because that was an attorney that probably wrote it and probably said, hey, let's try to go for as much as we can get. So don't be shy or intimidated by that. Your home office, if you are running a business out of that, I would not be relying on your condo or renters or homeowners policy, because especially with the liability, it's probably not going to cover your business liability. And most of you hopefully have an entity, whether it's a corp or an LLC, because you do not want to do anything or sign anything in your personal name. I just had somebody that came to me, yesterday. They had signed the lease with their personal name, but had an entity. And so they were lucky enough to go back, and that contract said, fine, we will change it into your business name. Because let me tell you, you can always close up a business. It's very hard to close yourself up. And if you don't have enough insurance and you get sued and you don't, like I said, have enough limits, they can go after anything you have personally, your assets. And they can even garnish your wages. So just an FYI for that. So the next thing is, what type of insurance do I need? Well, if you're a professional service, most of you probably, a lot of professional services I see don't have insurance. And the only reason why they get it is because they have a contract with a larger company and they're acting like a 1099. So they are being required. But I let everybody know that if you are running a business, you should at least get a quote. It does not cost anything to get a quote. The first thing that contract is probably going to ask you is for general liability. Now, again, if you're a professional service, the general liability is for property damage or bodily injury. So let's say somebody comes into your office and trips and falls. That's what it's going to help you with. The general liability is also going to give you an attorney, and they're going to pay for it with the fines and also any settlements up to the limit that you have. I give everybody $1 million. Now, a lot of times these contracts are requiring maybe $2 million. So you might need an umbrella, which we'll talk about later. You want to make sure you know what coverage limit you have, and do you have a deductible? Now, for professional service, when you have a general liability policy, you should not have a deductible that you pay first. This general liability excludes cyber liability and professional liability, and we're going to go into that a little bit later. The next thing is business personal property coverage. Do you have a laptop? Do you have any type of furniture? If you have a lease, what are you responsible for if there's a fire? Make sure you know that. And that's when you're going to give the replacement cost limit if there's a fire in your space. Even if it's in your home, again, a lot of these homeowner, condo, and renters policies, They are not going to cover anything that has to do with business. And what's your deductible? So I have a lot of people just have $1,000 or $2,000 worth of contents, but I see when I review some existing policies that have $1,000 deductible. So it doesn't make sense. So you need to see what kind of deductible you're going to have, and is it even worth insuring the business personal property? But if you have a lease, you must do that. And then again, replacement cost. Business interruption. Now, a lot of the professional services, you might have an office. If you get burned out of that, it might be easy to go somewhere else. But the business interruption is to help you continue your business. Are you losing any of your income because you had a fire or water damage? The business interruption is going to help you with that. Do you have any employees? Do you have any operating expenses like rent, electric, gas? The business interruption is going to help you. But remember, you have a coverage limit, so it's only up to that amount. And one other thing I want you to know is that there is a time deductible on every business interruption coverage. That means that the business interruption will start after that time deductible starts. Well, most people think, well, it's probably right away. Well, I will let you know that most companies start, I see 12 hours, I see after 24 hours, after 48 hours, or after 72 hours. So imagine a manufacturer or a restaurant having a 72-hour waiting period for their business interruption to start. Now, for us, we have an office, and because of the pandemic, we have a lot of our employees that were able to remote. So it wouldn't be that big of a problem if we had a 24-hour or 48-hour time deductible. But again, I just wanted to let everybody know that, because most people don't know that.
Now, Anna Maria,
Mhm.
what happens if you're sick? Is that another, I mean, if you got coronavirus, let's say, and you were out for 2 weeks, does business interruption slip in then?
No, it's
No.
only for a physical damage type of claim.
Okay.
And so that's why I'm sure you heard a lot in the past about these restaurants, especially, that were very upset that because they lost business because of the coronavirus and that they were closed down, that the business interruption did not cover the pandemic. And I will let you know, when the SARS came out, the insurance companies changed that business interruption language. But great question, Maura. So an endorsement, that is something you can add on to your existing policy that we just spoke about. Now, a lot of you will have a contract and they will ask you for auto. And a lot of people say, I don't have a commercial auto. Well, what they want is you to have this hired and non-owned auto. And what this protects you from is, let's say you get into your car and you go and get the mail or have to go get materials or something, and you're working during business hours, or even an employee or a 1099, and they get in a serious accident and they hurt the other person in the other car. Well, the lawyer is not only going to sue you and your auto insurance, which will pick that up, but they're also going to sue your business. And so that's what that hired and non-owned auto coverage is. And it really doesn't cost a lot of money to have that. Employment practices liability. Do you have employees? Do you have 1099s? This protects you, the employer, from the employee for sexual harassment, wrongful termination, and discrimination. Now, a lot of these package policies we talked about in the other slide, they might give you $5,000, but you could also increase it to 25 or 50. I have, some clients that have a lot of employees, they're up to $1 million. Okay, this also protects you if your client sues you for sexual harassment or discrimination because your employee supposedly did that. I also want to let you know that anybody can sue. So these liability policies, the companies offer you an attorney and they pay for that. And also, again, the fines and the settlements. These are optional coverages and standalone policies. This is probably the most important policy you will purchase, and it might be the only policy you purchase for being a professional service. Like we said, the general liability is if there's property damage or bodily injury, but you are giving services, you're giving advice. Are you training? Are you educating? Well, this policy is going to protect you if the lawsuit says that they're suing your services. You didn't give the right information. You didn't give the right education. And again, you can purchase $250,000. If someone comes to me, they're a small business, I like to give them options of limits. But I will tell you, if you have a contract, they're probably going to ask you to have $1 million. This is based on your sales and also based on the type of services that you are giving. So if you're an attorney, you're going to pay a lot more than if someone that is just giving services, educating like myself. We have a professional, or it's called an error and omissions policy. If you give, if you have an error or don't give the right information, for instance, an insurance agent or an attorney, this is what's going to protect you. Workman's compensation. If you have 1099s or an employee, even if it's a part-time employee, you're paying them cash. It is a law to have workman's compensation. It is based on payroll and what that person is doing. If you own the business, you can exclude yourself, but because you're a professional service, it's very inexpensive to include yourself. Even if you're not paying yourself, the insurance companies know most small businesses don't pay themselves, so they have a minimum payroll that we would give you a quote on. And always get optional quotes, because if you don't have a disability policy, this workman comp pays for if you're injured on the job, also pays for your medical payments. And if you're partially disabled, fully disabled, or die because of a work-related injury, it will give you a settlement. Umbrella. What that is an extra liability policy. So we talked about that general liability policy at $1 million. If you feel that you need more than $1 million, the umbrella would be the next coverage you would purchase. So if that general liability policy was exhausted, the umbrella would pick after that. Unfortunately, an umbrella does not cover over professional liability and does not cover over that employment practices liability policy. So you would have to get, if somebody asked you for a $2 million professional liability policy, you would have to purchase and increase your coverage to that. And then directors and officers coverage. So whether you're a non-for-profit board, do you have, what are they called? If you have private investors that are investing in your business, you are acting like a board of directors. So if something happens to that business or you breach the contract they signed, they can go after you individually. Just like if you are on a non-for-profit board, make sure they have directors and officers coverage. If they don't, I would not be on that non-for-profit. A lot of times I try to talk to these private equity firms and say, why aren't you buying directors and officers coverage for the company that you're investing in? Because if they go out of business and you try to sue them individually, they're not going to have anything. You will be able to get money from this directors and officers policy. Again, you can start this off at $250,000, but I've seen contracts from private investors that they want $1 million. Subcontractors. A lot of people don't understand that if you have a subcontractor and something happens under your watch to them, you will have to pay for general liability and also workman's comp. The only way to get out of that is to have them purchase their own. Cyber liability, hot topic right now. As you heard about the Colonial pipeline, it had to pay $5 million for ransomware. Well, I will let you know that $5 million to a company like that versus even 10,000 to businesses like ours would devastate us. So let's see. Do you have a business that would be impacted if your online sales were interrupted? I don't know if any of you have e-commerce. Can anybody sign up? Do you store anybody's clients' information? Even if you are having them pay and you are using a third party, you are probably still responsible for your client's information if that third party gets hacked. It is a law for a business to protect their client's personal information. So that's another reason why you need cyber liability. And each state has their own laws and requirements. I don't know if any of you have ever received a letter from like Target or Home Depot stating that your information was breached. If you did, they probably offered you credit monitoring, which most states are having the company that was breached offer their clients. Now, can you imagine having to pay for that for a year or two for your clients? Another reason to have cyber liability. And it's about $224 per client if you are breached. So I like to give some of these staggering, statistics. More than 1 in 10 small businesses faced a virus, a hack, or a data breach in 2019. A lot of times I like to say to people, it's not how, it's when are you going to get attacked? A lot of them are from email. The phishing email is a big topic to IT people that will tell you, be very, very careful. And especially if you have employees, remind them to, if they see something, do not open it. It could ruin everything. Okay. These are some of the online exposures: data storage, email, remote workers. A lot of times the remote workers might not have a database or their computer that has a firewall. They might not be really stable. Third-party credit card vendors. If you're going to sign up with one, the question you need to ask is, hey, if you are hacked, am I responsible, or are you going to use your cyber insurance to inform my clients that are using it? PCI compliance. Well, I don't know if any of you have POS systems, probably not, but this is really the company that should be helping you continue to be compliant. And if you're not and you're hacked, again, you can be sued. Data taken by hostage, ransomware, same thing. You open up your computer, someone says, hey, guess what? I have all your information. You're going to give me $10,000. I had a non-for-profit get hit twice because they panicked. They gave them the money right away. I would suggest calling your IT person or an IT person and ask them to help you. Because again, if you are easy bait, they're going to come back again. And again, the cost, the lost business. I had a friend who has a large business. It took him a month and a half for his company to become productive again. There's legal fees, there's fines if you get hacked. Who's going to pay for that? And what should you have covered? Well, I'll tell you, a cyber policy is like a cheese pizza. Most of these policies start off with expense. So like we were talking about, you're informing your clients that they were hacked. Credit monitoring, that's going to be an expense to you. Well, someone can sue you because you didn't protect the client's personal information, and we know no one can. You can add liability, and they'll help you with defense costs. You can add coverage for ransomware. Business interruption. I have a lot of clients that are 100% e-commerce. If their website went down, they would be out of business. Now, we talked about business interruption on that package policy. That's really for a brick and mortar. You can get business interruption on cyber. And what cyber limits are best for your business? That's a good conversation to have with your company, your insurance agent, excuse me. And then also, what can you afford? There's two ways to get cyber coverage. You can add it onto that package policy we talked about in the beginning. It's not that expensive. A lot of them have just limited coverage. But if you're not really an e-commerce type of business, you might want to go that way. It's more cost effective. But if you have all your information, if I saw that there's someone that has a law firm, estate planning law firm, if you're a psychologist, you probably have social security numbers. I would definitely also get an optional standalone cyber liability policy. You can get more coverage, but it's a little bit more expensive. I'm really done with all the coverages. Does anybody have any questions? I hope I didn't give you too much information at once. I know it's a lot. Okay.
I have a question. Anna.
Sure, sure.
So the one thing I was thinking about was, so my business is a home-based business, but soon I'll have employees and we'll all just work remote for, some time until we're ready to move into a space. So I was curious about the general liability and the property coverage, considering everybody will be in their own homes. How does that work? They'll be employees, so I'll have the option to give them company laptops. But, I just kind of got a little hazy around where are they covered because they're at their home and not my home? Like, how does that work?
Okay, so first of all, and I should have explained this, and I'm sorry, general liability is for guests, okay, also. The workman's comp is for your employees, no matter where they are. So you would need workman's comp for them. And then, like I said, general liability, if you needed it. I mean, are you going to have bodily injury? Are you going to have property damage? Is somebody going to come into your home? Are you going to go into an office? And, what if your cord, I'm trying to say, they trip over it? Are they going to sue you? So those are some of the things. The liability, like I said, for your employees, that's if they do something. So hopefully that helps you. Okay.
I think I need a little more clarity. Maybe I called it general liability, but the
professional. Are they doing professional liability work? Are they doing a service for you?
Yes, that too, but I'm more concerned about the property. If I give them $1,000 laptops and it breaks, will my insurance cover it, even though it broke at their house or it was stolen from their home?
Yes.
Because we don't have an office.
You can get property coverage away from the premises, but you need to let your agent know that and where it is. Yes, you can. Again, remember, if they're $1,000, you want to make sure and find out what the deductible is, because if it's $1,000, then it's not really worth it. Or are you thinking that, there's something that's going to happen to them all at once, which how can that happen if they're not in the same office? You can also get a $500 deductible. Does that help? Okay, great. Certificate of insurance. You are going to probably be asked a lot. If you are doing services or working for a larger corporation, they're going to want proof of insurance. And this is called a certificate of insurance, or you might even hear the word COI, which is certificate of insurance. This is going to tell anybody that wants to see if you have insurance. It's going to show the liability. It's going to show that hired and non-owned auto, or if you have a commercial loan. If you have an umbrella, it's going to show you a workman's comp. And let's say I see a lot of contracts asking for cyber liability. Well, that would be typed in here. Or if you have professional liability and they're asking for it, it would be here. Here's the policy number. And here's the liability limits. Okay, let's say you're going to have somebody work for you and they're at 1099 and they say they have insurance. Well, you're going to ask them for the certificate of insurance. So you can have that with you for proof, just in case something happens. Also, it shows the agent. So let's say that 1099 disappears. You'll have this certificate and you'll have the agent, you can call them directly and say, hey, this person left, I have a claim. Do you know your agent? I don't know if any of you are at that stage of having a business or have launched, but you need to know your agent and hopefully you feel very comfortable with them. Are they asking you questions? Are they, looking out for you? Business insurance is not standardized. And what I mean by that is two things. First of all, when someone calls me and says, I have two other agents looking into insurance, I usually say, I'm not going to help you. I'm going to bow out because most of us have the same insurance companies, and whoever gets their application in first blocks every other agent out. Okay? A lot of people don't know that about business insurance. If it's health insurance, if you had 5 agents could give you 5 of the same insurance quote, but not for business. Also, if somebody has proposals and you're trying to look at them, what I tell people is find the agent that you like and have them help you look over the different proposals, because my proposal is going to have different things in it than someone else's. Contracts and leases, I can't tell you enough. Do not sign until you share it with your insurance agent, because there are insurance requirements in both of these items. Comparing quotes and proposals, like I was saying before, when someone tells me I have 3 proposals and I'll call you back after I review them, I kind of think, oh my gosh, this person's first going to be confused. And second of all, don't look at price first. What are you getting? For example, I do a lot of tech companies. So this gentleman showed me his current policy, and he had an office policy. He did not have any cyber liability at all. So just be careful of what you're getting. Yes, of course, price means something, but this is not like going and purchasing a car and going to different, dealerships, or going and, gas and food. This is really, really important to you. And if you're going to pay, you really want it to cover what you think it's covering. Okay. Well, hopefully you feel like this and can give a thumbs up. Any questions at all?
Hi, Anna Maria. I'm Kate.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for your presentation. I just wanted to make sure I'm clear on what would apply to me. And I think this would apply to other people in the class too. So I just want to make sure I understand I'm just getting started. I haven't even formed my LLC officially yet, right? I'm just kind of like doing all the beginning stages of things. I'm planning on working from home. I'm planning on mostly not very often not employing, but like contracting with somebody else for a service. Like right now I have somebody doing web design for me, for example. I might have a few things like that. What's most important for me as far as insurance is concerned? I'm not sure I really I felt like I heard you talk a lot about like leases and contracts, and like I will have contracts with my clients. Is that something that can you just say a little bit more so I make sure I understand what sorry, I might have missed it.
No, I know. Okay, so that's why I'm saying there's a lot of information that I gave.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you contract anybody, first of all, you want to make sure they have insurance, because what if that person that messes up your website? You want to make sure they have it in any aspect of your life. Let's say you hire a window washer or someone that's going to come in, a handyman. You want to make sure they have insurance, because if something happens and it's going to be because of them, why would you want to pay for it again? That's one thing, first of all. Second of all, you're working in your home, and you said you're doing, what is your business going to be? Did you say?
I'm doing personal oral histories. So like life story kind of work.
Okay, so you would really want, I mean, general liability, like I said, for professional service, there's not really much that you really don't need general liability, I'm going to say, if you're really going to purchase one or the other. Because general liability, like I said, is for property damage or bodily injury. And so really a professional that's working in their home really should spend their money on professional liability and a higher limit. Now, if you're going to have a 1099, that's going to help you. Make sure they have their own insurance. If they're going to be doing a professional work for you or educating for you, professional and workman's comp. Because if something happens under your watch, you're going to be responsible. Does that help everybody clear it up a little bit better?
Thank you. Yes.
No problem.
Can I ask one follow-up?
Sure.
The general liability, is that the one that people outside vendors might request if you try to have something in their space?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will let you know that I have so many people that are doing professional services and that contract's asking for general liability. I have no idea why. So again, hopefully I, answered questions. I will let you know that if you want to get a hold of me anytime and you didn't feel like asking a question or maybe something comes up, please get a hold of me. One other thing I wanted to mention also is I would start looking for insurance or getting quotes, I'd say a month or two before you launch. Because again, for professional, usually that professional application, you have to fill out an application. So it's going to take you a little bit more time. And then if you want the insurance agent to be able to shop for you also.
Now, Anna Maria, I was just going to ask if, so we hear about $5 million in coverage, and that sounds, millions of dollars sounds so scary. I know there's probably not an average cost, but what would you say a startup usually spends on insurance per year?
I'm going to say a professional, I'd say for professional liability, for like a consultant, I'm going to say anywhere from $900 to $1,200 a year for professional. That's a guess.
Thank you.
And I'll tell you, general liability, if you have to have that and you're a small business, I'm going to say $500 to $800 a year at the most. But then if you add property in, obviously it's a little bit more. So
it's not very much for millions of coverage, right?
not for $1 million, no. But for 5 million, I mean, as a consultant, I would say it'll probably cost you $8,000, $10,000 for 5 million. And a lot of times the insurance company, if you're a small business and don't really have a lot of, experience, because you don't have a lot of projects, they're going to want to know why they're asking for $5 million also.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And I wanted to say one thing, plug for the Women's Business Development Center. You are in a fantastic class or workshop. I will tell you, I speak to a lot of different incubators, resource centers, whatever you want to call them. And by far, the Women's Business Development Center is the best.
Oh, Anna Maria, that's so nice.
And I mean that. I mean, I probably refer people to you every week.
Yes, she does. She's a great referral source.
Yeah, and it's not because I don't have options. It's because I feel that they are the best. So great resource. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
so much, Anna
Thank
Maria.
you for saying
Sure.
that.
Thank you and good luck to everybody. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye. Okay, that's a little overwhelming, I know. And this is how everyone feels after that, after her expertise, but she is trying to protect you, right? So I would always ask for the minimum coverage, especially as you start up, and then add as needed. I don't know, does anyone have people that are in business? Can anyone tell us what their experience is and what they have purchased? I know, like Jennifer or Gina, have you spent money on insurance yet?
I have. I actually have a professional liability. Well, I have to have it to practice law
Okay.
privately. But I did ask another attorney informally if I needed the general liability, and I work from home. I do go to clients' houses. I don't really have a space, but what he told me was that I really didn't need it right now because I don't have vendors. I don't have contracts like that where I'm paying someone money to do something for me, or giving me something. So I don't have that, and I don't think I need it right now until I have a space.
Right.
So I just have I have the professional liability insurance.
Do you have cybersecurity
It
insurance?
actually includes it with my professional. So that's something new that my previous insurance company did not include. And I had switched to the Bar Association, Illinois Bar Association company, and they do include cyber liability insurance. So that was
Okay.
good because I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So I guess I would start with professional liability. Everyone get professional
Yes,
liability?
and I would suggest that if there's like a professional association, they often offer a professional liability insurance. So that would be a good place to start too.
Yeah, probably at a reduced rate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we take a 5-minute break and come back? Why don't we just meet back at 10? And then we'll get started with Mayhen on financials. Okay, so I'll
Sounds good.
see you back at 10.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back. Is everyone here? So Man, do you want to share your screen? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, we can share. I can share my screen. Let me see.
And we're going to go through the profit and loss, net income statement, and then talk about cash flow and then some tips.
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds great.
Great.
Mhm. Okay, I don't see a share button here. So is there something I need?
Multiple participants can share.
Oh, I see that now. My bad.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay, so I'll turn off the video to save bandwidth and then share my screen. Oh. One more try. Yeah. Why is this? Okay. You can see the simple Excel sheet.
Yes,
Yeah. So I wanted to go over the basics, cost of goods. What is the profit and loss look like? I think most of you are familiar with this, but just to level set the platform, it'll be good to have go through that. And I want this session to be open and free flowing. I don't have a structure. I don't do this professionally, so please pardon my little bit of disorganization and trying to evolve on this. But if you have a question, raise your hand or just jump in and say, Mahen, what do you think about this or that? So with that, here I built a simple profit and loss. What do you call for a lemonade stand business? Although we are professional services, I figured lemonade stand would be just a simple way to give you an example. So we start with revenue. What does your sales look like? What are your sales? So sales for this lemonade stand will be, say you sell one lemonade glass for $1 each. You sell 100 glasses, and this is monthly, so it'll be $100. That's your revenue. Anything you receive in advance as a deposit, anything you receive for future sales, like a Costco membership, or like if you have a membership type plan, you cannot take everything you receive right away as a revenue. You have to allocate it during the time it's valid. So if you have a membership type service, you want to divide that for over whatever time frame, say 12 months, and take every month you can account that as a revenue.
So now Kate is taking a deposit and having people pay as she does the work. So she recognizes the revenue when she has to spread it out over the month.
Yes, that's correct. And if you have a time, the easiest way to do that is time frame wise. To say if you spread it over 3 months, it's easy to recognize it equally. If you say you're doing bulk of the work earlier and then just doing as a percentage of the deposit, you can do that. But the simplest is just doing it by time. The cost, what is cost of goods sold? The cost of goods sold is all the direct material and labor expenses and overheads that go into providing that service. Why that concept is important? Because that leads you to the next concept of gross profit. That gross profit, everybody is focused on that number. Everybody, in a sense, your stakeholder, your banks, your investors, yourself as a business owner should be focused on that number as the most important driver of your business. So what are direct costs? So for in this lemonade stand, you when you sell 100 glasses, it costs 50 lemons to make those 100 glasses. So that's 25 cents each, and it's 12.50. Although let's say you bought 500 lemons for that, and you only need 50, so you only account for that much cost that goes into generating 100 glasses of lemonade. Not all the lemons that you bought. The rest of the lemons that you not use is considered inventory. Similarly, you need 100 cups for 100 glasses. That's the cost. I would say more than 100 cups. So you can say 110 because you waste some cups here and there. How much sugar? Again, that's a direct cost. So that's that. And then you need somebody to stand there or help them out. So that's the salary of the person. Your neighbor to sit there and let's say you pay $20 a month. So that's again your direct cost. So you add all those costs in, and that's your total cost of goods sold. So it includes direct material, direct labor, and any other overhead. We didn't take any other overhead here. In terms of professional services, you won't have direct materials as such unless you provide any materials, but it will be mostly your time or the people you employ, their time, like number of hours, and the commission, direct commission you pay to somebody to get that business as a percentage of revenue. So once you deduct that, so it cost, my revenue was $100, cost of goods sold was $46.25. So my gross profit is $53.75. That number has to be a positive number. Eventually, like you can have a negative gross profit in the beginning, but if that number you don't foresee to turn positive, there is no business basically. So once that's the money you are generating right off the bat. So out of that, now you have to pay off other expenses that are indirect, that are selling and administrative expense. That we call them indirect or selling and admin expense. So that's some example are you're paying another neighbor to help you run around with doing errands and other stuff that are not directly related to this 100 glasses of revenue, 100 glasses sold. You're posting your posters around the neighborhood. That's again different cost. You have a wagon you bought, and now you're making monthly payments for that wagon. So those are some of the costs. I did not add the labor for the second labor. Let's put another $10 for that person. There you go. Somehow it got deleted, I think, as I was typing. So that $20 is your selling and administrative expenses. So from the gross profit, you deduct those expenses. That comes your net profit. $33.75 is your net profit. And after that, you pay Uncle Sam the taxes. And then whatever's left over, that is your net profit. So far, I think this is pretty straightforward. Any questions? I'll take a pause for them.
And I have a quick one. So for example, just to make sure I think I get it, but anytime I'm working quote unquote in my business, like I'm doing the work to interview somebody's mom or whatever it is, but then that's would be like under the cost of goods. But then when I spend time like posting on Instagram, for example, that would be selling and admin expenses, but I still want to keep track of all the time that I spend doing those things so I can actually understand whether I'm making a profit. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. So the idea is if what is called a proper business, I'll give you a little philosophical definition. What's the difference between a job and a business? And this is something I read in, I think, Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and I like that. So if it's something that you have to put you're gone for a year away in Hawaii, and the business still keeps going on and grows, that is considered a true business. But if you are gone and the business doesn't work, that is considered more like self-employment and stuff. So you have to include your time into it at that point. So just nothing to do with this, but wanted to share my thought here. So your time goes here. Yes, you have to include that time. Okay.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Does everyone see how this would apply to them? So I guess if we ask people, how are they going to compute their revenue? Do people know? Are you going to do hourly, project-wise?
Yeah, I'll give you one example of mine. The client I got recently hired, I did almost a fixed price kind of estimate for them, looking at how much time I'm going to spend and add some more buffer into it. And considering the longevity of that transaction, the client, I give them a better rate so that I don't have to spend time looking for another client and here and there. So all those things kind of become a factor of the fixed price, and it was slightly cheaper than if somebody would have paid me hourly.
Yeah, I mean, Maura, I don't know. I think what I'm planning on doing, or what I'm doing so far, is I'm doing a fixed rate for my services. But what I want to do is keep track of how many hours I'm spending on all aspects of things, specifically for that in the business, for that fixed rate project, and see how I'm actually netting out. I mean, I'm trying my best to do to give myself the benefit of the doubt of my calculations and trying to pad it a little bit, but not too much, so it's not like an astronomical fixed rate price. But that's my goal, is to do a fixed rate, because I feel like that would work best for the people I'm serving. And then, yeah, I hope it works out. That's why this is good. I need to find a good way of keeping track of how all that works out.
Yeah.
And then you work backwards and see how much you get per hour.
Yeah. And how much I want to be paid per hour versus how much I actually am getting paid per hour. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. So Maura, we can move on to the next one.
Okay.
That's okay with
Thank
everybody.
you.
So do we want to go to so using this as a framework, we can look at the other next step. Sorry, not this one. It's the forecast.
Yeah.
Making a 3-year forecast using the same profit and loss. So assuming you sold X number of service, X number of sales, it's always good to have a little bit of 3-year mind. Once you clear yourself, prepare a full P&L. Now you can expand it over 3 years usually. Look at what kind of growth you can expect. What are some of the factors that will drive your sales up? You will hire more people. You will get more referrals. And then once you prepare this kind of plan, you can use that to either, you can do a top down or bottom up. So what a top down bottom up means is, you can say, I want to grow my $1,000 to 20% next year. So it will be $1,200. How do I do $1,200? So for 1,000, I had to visit 100 phone calls, and then 10 people signed up, and then out of which 5 people stayed throughout the year. So now you're working backwards. So for 1,200, how much do I need to do? So that's the way you would think. Bottom up would be doing the opposite. Is saying, in a month, I can reach out only X number of people. So that will be X dollars. And from that many people, I'm supposed to generate or sign up X contracts and will generate X number of dollars. So I think I can best, given my other personal circumstance, I can best do is this much. So that gives you another number. So that's both ways to see if it is feasible or it is just a dart in the air. So usually this kind of forces you to put some thought around it. This is a template I got from Score, and I've attached it to Maura. So then you basically do is what you did previously, just repeat it for 3 years, add some growth, add some increasing in costs here. So your cost of goods sold, and then all your operating, I call as G&A, selling and general administrative expense or operating expense. There are several listed here. Salaries, payroll taxes, outside services.
Mayhan, we still see the lemonade.
Oh, once, my bad. Thank you. I think I need to.
There we go.
There you go. Okay. Thanks for telling that. So this is where I was saying, this is your, and it says 2012. So you can change your year to 2021. And automatically updates. So you can enter your revenue, which is sales, enter your cost of goods sold, and it automatically calculates what's your percentage as compared as the percentage of sales. And then you do that for the following year and the following year. That generally gives you a good idea of where you want to be, or can you be there in 3 years. Kind of forces you to look at the assumptions and the business that you're trying to grow or set up. Operating expenses, anything that is not a direct expense for the sales is considered operating or selling and administrative expense. There's a bunch of lists here. I won't go through each of them, but you add those costs here in this template. You just estimate what it will cost on each line item. You can add more line items. You can rename these items, and that will give you your total expenses, and that will subtract total expenses, operating expense from the gross profit. You get net profit before tax. Then you, depending on the type of LLC or S Corp or your sole proprietorship, you estimate the taxes you're going to end up paying on that. And the rest is your net operating income.
So Mahen, on this page, the operating expenses would be the same thing on the other page that you called selling and admin fees?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the same. I should just say.
It's okay, just making sure I'm following.
No, that's clarification. Yeah. Again, this is so helpful, not for yourself, but also for outside investors or anybody else you're trying to see. Trying to grow the business, you need, numbers are the language of business. So you need to have this kind of projection built out, and you can come back to it every several months, few months to say, yeah, my assumption for this thing was way off. I think I'm going to end up paying X amount instead of what I thought. And then that helps you see, well, is the business going to grow where I want to be? What do I need to do I need to increase my prices? If that's a separate conversation about pricing. Is the market liking my product and they are not questioning, can you increase the price and justify that increase, add some value added services. So far, that's all I have on this one, projection. Any questions, Maura?
I'm just wondering how you usually predict what the next year will be. So 2021, we've got a pretty good idea of what our sales will be, but how do you, when you are doing your 3-year projections, you just say, okay, inflation is 4%, so I'll add 4% to my sales for 2022? Or do you say, I think I'll work 10% harder? How do you do,
Yeah.
I mean, does anyone, how do they do their assumptions? Because assumptions are really the important part of your projections.
Do you assume that, you're going to get more referrals or whatever? Yeah. Do more business.
Yeah. So what I always say when you do your projections, and I don't know, Mayhen, tell me what you do, is you write down all your assumptions, maybe at the bottom of the sheet, but write down all your assumptions, because then in 2022, you can go back and say, oh, I was way off in my projections. I thought I would sell 100 glasses of lemonade and I only sold 50. So now I've got to redo my projections.
Yeah, I always look at saying whatever I did last year, I need to do better than that. That's the number one goal. It cannot go below it. That's no. You better plan yourself so that you can at least achieve that much. So just making that assumption, just setting yourself as a benchmark, very hard benchmark, kind of automatically sets you up saying, oh, I didn't have any time last year when I tried to achieve X number of sales. I need to hire somebody. I need a part-time assistant. I need somebody to now, if I want to grow more. I do both ways. I look at the price also. Let's say if I give the same services to the same people, can I increase it by 4-5%? Are they willing to take that? And if they do, I'll increase the price. And the number two is if I can hire somebody who can take over some of my accounting, admin, basic work from me and free me up for more sales, I would do that. So you grow by two ways. One is the pricing of the existing and the other two is new business.
Now Lisa has a question.
So I was just gonna say, in terms of in the nonprofit world and, working programs and doing budgets where you have to do your projections and what have you, basically it would come with planning, and coming up with like very much like you're saying, man, and what plans do you have for next year and the next year. And so because some programs, some places try to keep it separate, no, you just run the program and we'll take care of the budget, but they impact one another. So I would think that doing it, in my own world with my own business, I would do very much similar to that. So if I plan to serve more clients and have different people or different clientele, then I may have to do some additional advertising. I might have to do some different types of, have some different supplies, so on, so forth. So I have to project those funds and then work towards them based on the plan, whatever the project plan is or strategic plan, wherever that's going to take me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's different for nonprofit world. Your intention is different. Your goals are a little different.
So I may not want to think of it that way in terms of how to, because my business is not nonprofit, but that's where my experience comes from.
Yep.
So, okay.
I mean, the whole idea of planning and then reassessing, that's going to hold true wherever, right? So you'll have a committee meeting or a group meeting about your planning for next year, talk about your assumptions, and then project a growth rate and what you spend, right? Always evaluating what you spend.
Mm-hmm. It seems like everybody's very familiar with this, or they don't have any questions. I'm here to answer any questions.
Yeah,
Feel free.
Marilyn or Sonia or Dr. Angela, do you do any type of projections?
This is Marilyn. Over the years I have, but this is when it comes to projections, it's a guess. And so it really is a guess. And so what has been my experience is you're really kind of expecting this, but it may not come to fruition. It's good if you can, say this is what you want, and you can compare from year to year to see what happened. but really understand putting in these numbers is, this is what I'm expecting to get. So I think the good use of a projection is to compare what happened last year as opposed to what you want to do this year. But my experience is most times I didn't hit the projections. Okay, I just didn't. So they're good to, you know, it could be good for some folks when it comes to planning what you want to do, like in marketing or your sales or whatever. So I think it's a good exercise for comparison for year to year, but just always keep in mind that this is exactly what it says. You're projecting something. It's not set in stone, and it's a moving document.
So Marilyn, would you refine your projections? Like when you realize that you're not making your goals or your projections, would you say the next year you'd be more conservative in your estimates as a result?
I wouldn't say you have to necessarily be more conservative, but you are, depending on what you hit and didn't hit, you may want to pivot something. So if you didn't hit what you wanted to hit, let's say your telephone expense was, you put in what you basically pay for your telephone every month, but then you found out throughout the year that you needed to add some more services to that telephone bill, and it was higher than what you projected. Then the next year, you're like, let me go on the high end, because that way I know, and if I get some money back, then, you know, it's money in my pocket.
Thank you.
I can give you an example, like with insurance. Like we talked about insurance today. And when I first started out and I started buying business insurance, I was paying a lot of money for it. Okay. And, but this is what the agent had sold me. I, you know, check with double agents, check with different agents. But now I found a nice little company that only services small businesses. And like Anna Maria was saying, now I'm paying between like $500 and $600 a year, where before I was paying, when I first started out, I was paying $1,800, $1,700 and $1,800 a year. So you see how that's a big difference in projections. If I was projecting how much money more I have in my pocket now. So I stick, of course, with that company now, because I'm not going to pay $1,800.
Right. Very smart. So that way you actually saved yourself money, which is great.
Exactly.
Yeah, anyone else have experience doing
Hi,
your
Mar.
projections?
Hi, Mara. This is Aisha. I just want to say something really quick. Sorry, I can't be on camera right now, but me looking at it from a sales aspect, excuse me, with my background being in sales, I've always used the projections to set my sales goal, and I always back into the number. So I think that even if you overshoot your projections, you know, as long as you're seeing some growth, you know, you're looking at, you know, 5%, you know, 10% is always good, right? Year over year. But even if you didn't hit that 10% growth and you only hit 5, you still had growth technically. So I do look at it from a different angle, and always using the projection. So it's definitely good to, you know, obviously have them. And there was a great presentation. It just kind of took me back to to my MBA classes and finance. So, but just keep that in mind too. You know, it's always good to have, even if you don't. To your point, Dr. that was speaking before. Yeah, that's definitely true. You may not make it, but I just look at it from, okay, I may not make it, but if I made just a little bit more, and then I start to do more sales tactics, or just how am I going to increase my clientele? And then if you have a team working with you, you know, maybe increasing their goals. So.
Right. And probably then in your projections, you'll have number of hours times dollars per hour, or you'll break your sales down a little bit further than just sales, right? Because if you're focusing on your sales, you'll have project rate times, the price. So then-
Correct.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wait, say more about that.
So here, in this one, it just says sales, so you don't know how they're reaching 1,000. It could be that they're selling 2 projects at $500, or they could be selling 10 widgets at $100 a piece. So it's good to you could break your sales down here. And
Yeah, even
instead of just having one line, you'd have a unit and a price.
Correct, because it's different to me, coming from the professional services world. It's different when you have like a widget, right, or a product, but when you have a service and now you are trading time for dollars, then it's very important to break it down. Like, so you have your number, but then you have to back into the number. And so, yes, that's like, so you're looking at, what are you doing yearly, quarterly, monthly, and even weekly, daily. So what are you doing, per however many hours of, work you work per day, and you break it down all the way to that moment. And it will help it will help probably the person understand it more, not just someone else that's reading it that may want to, whatever, be an investor or what have you. But that's what I do.
Yeah, so Mahan, can you show how to do that on here, or is it not changeable? So can you break your sales down into?
Yeah, you could break it. You can add more rows here, and I think this format is not structured for it. But again, if if you go to the next one, the cash flow forecast, we have a few more line items. I think you can do that if somebody has a little bit of Excel thing. You can just add sales 2, sales 3, right? Is that what?
I kind of mean number of units times price equals sales.
Yeah, you could do it here itself, or no, not in this one. You'll have to make it a little more.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do it. Yeah, it's not going to be.
Maybe it's in the other spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do it in separate SKs. Yes, do it separately and then bring it here.
And I think most service, this is Marilyn, most service businesses, they bill either by the hour or they may bill by the day. So when you're thinking about how many hours is it going to take you to do a task or to do something? So like for me, if someone wants to bring me in to do like a workshop, my cost isn't just to do the workshop. My cost is how much am I going to charge them for the day to do the workshop? What is my prep time? How many hours am I going to spend on prepping or developing whatever I'm going to talk about? If I am going to have to travel, I'm going to lay out all those expenses. If it's like I got to get on a plane, transportation to the plane, even down to what the baggage fee is going to cost me. Okay, all of that is my overhead in order to do this day of training. All of those I'm going to add up, and that's the price you're going to get. So that's why I'm saying you can just take a piece of paper and actually, just think about all of the tasks that you would have to complete in order to make something happen. Okay, and then start from there, and then maybe stick it in the spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I just want to say I agree completely with what she just said. It particularly as people who do professional services is just so important that we do not undervalue ourselves.
Correct. And as females, that's what we tend to do.
Very true.
Okay, any more questions on profit projections?
Mara, I just want to add that for the sales, I think it's important to have just a separate spreadsheet where you can put all the projections there for budgeting and then incorporate those, bringing to the profit projection. So it doesn't look messy, and it's also easier for you to understand, break down the products that you have or the services you have.
Yeah, so I have another spreadsheet that then feeds in your total sales right to this line. Yeah,
Exactly. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and that way you can track even each product separately or each service separately.
yeah. That's a good idea. Okay, and
Awesome.
we're available to help with basic financials, although Maria is a financial expert. So if you have detailed financial questions, you can go to Maria. I can help also with pretty sophisticated, but I know people like Mayhan can probably help you get ready too for if you have to do a bank presentation.
Yep.
Okay, what else were you going to show, Mayhan? Were you going to do cash flow projections?
So I'll quickly touch base on cash flow projection.
Okay, great.
So let's go and share my screen. This one. Okay. Let me know if you see the cash flow projection. Do you see the cash flow statement?
Yes, we do.
The yellow highlights. Okay.
Mhm.
So this is slightly different. This is similar to profit and loss, except it tells you the timing of the cash, the movement of cash. So in the lemonade stand business, it's all cash business. You don't have account receivable. You don't wait for the salesperson to pay you. So think of it as this guy as a movement of cash in your business. You start off with what you have in your bank, the beginning cash, and expect the next lines are. So there are two things. One is your inflow of cash, and the other is outflow of cash. And to that, you measure the difference and add it to the beginning cash flow. You start with saying how much cash I have currently. If it's just starting with, like most of us, we can estimate how much startup costs are going to be. So that's an outflow of cash. And then you say you have $1,000 sitting in your bank account, and then you expect to collect not how much you're going to bill, but expect that you're going to get another $500 from each of the client. So you're going to collect $1,500 this month. So your total cash balance at the end of the month, including the beginning balance, is $2,500. And from that, you're going to deduct all the direct cost, which is COGS, and the indirect cost, which is operating / admin and selling expenses. You're going to say, I'm going to pay not how much you're going to get invoiced or how much you're going to incur, but how much you are going to pay out. Let's say you're tight on cash, you can push some of the payments out for another month by talking to the provider or the vendor, or putting it on a credit card. And let's not get into that complex, but trying to keep it simple. So how much you're going to pay out of the business. So let's say you end up paying, we'll take a smaller number to keep it positive. We will say $100 in each of these expenses. Say you only have these many expense. So you're going to spend $100 on those expenses. So at the end of the day, your total expense going out the door is $800, and you're left with $1,700. This $100 not only includes your expense, but anything that you are going to take out for yourself as well. You need some money for your, so let me take a step back. The primary rule of running business, keep your business and personal finances separate. Rule number 101, do not mix. Have a separate LLC, have a separate bank account, have a separate credit card, debit card for your bank that you can use for the business expense and business. So that way you keep the two things clean and you can manage it accordingly. If you're shortfall or if you have access, you can move money in and out of your personal and outside of personal, but fundamental rule is keep them separate. So let's say you're at the end of the month, you're, based on this example, you have 1,700 positive cash. You don't need any loan. You don't have any loan payments. If you need to make monthly payments, you can subtract it here. But this will essentially tell you what is your ending cash balances. Again, the goal is to have enough cash for the next month and the next year and keep the business rolling. If you, by doing this exercise, you can do this for the whole 12 months. And at some point you will see, you might see that cash is going negative. There are some expenses where you're anticipating somebody to pay and it might take delay. For those purposes, you have another line item to say, I can borrow some money, either from SBA or other funds or from investors or from your credit card. But this cash flow statement tells you where you are going to be in and in the red. Let's just take this example for the interest of time. Let's say your rent and other expenses kind of add up to another, I'm just going to make up some number here, $200, beginning year. So now you are in the red. You have $161 negative. So either you have to push out these expenses to the following month, don't pay them now, or negotiate a way to pay them in parts over the period, or you find another source of funding, either your personal funds or the bank loan to cover the negative $161. Does that make sense? Or any questions so far? Pretty
So
straightforward.
this is where most businesses go into trouble, right?
Yes, they do not forecast this and they are out of cash and they don't have a payroll to pay. They don't have funds to the employees. The employees then gives them, their funds are, if you don't manage this well, it just generates a lot of negative impression outside world.
So you could be profitable, but still have a cash problem.
Yep. Thank you, Mona. Yep.
I think
Liquidity problem. Yep.
I just want to just chime in. I'm sorry, I had another call, so I had to jump off and jump back on. But this is what I did more than anything else for my business, because it dictated my decision making. So at times when I knew that I maybe didn't have a client lined up or contracts were ending at a certain time, I knew that the revenue would be short, but the expenses may still be there. And so it helped me along the way decide how much I can pay myself, how much I needed to leave in the business, and it lit the fire when it was time to get more clients. So I knew well in advance, like, okay, at this point, these 3 clients will be done and I only have 2 clients left. Let me get moving on trying to get more clients in the door so I can make sure I have that revenue coming in August or whatever. So like this piece is really crucial. I know it might seem like tedious, or if you're not a math person, like it brings you anxiety, but I promise it helps with decision making in the future, and it's valuable, extremely valuable.
Yeah, this is the part I need to really get some help with. you know how they tell you stay in your lane. I need somebody else to drive this car, at least to help me with it. So I'm just being honest, because that's the kind of part of what I say about formalizing my business that I need to, you know, have set up.
Yeah. Yep. And that's a very good point. We a lot of time we are so much focused on our business as such that we end up spending way more time on the website, on the product, and do the other peripheral things, that we lose sight of this cash flow and the basics of the business that can tell you how far and how long, and the longevity of the business, the profitability of the business.
Now, I have a quick question. This is probably slightly more maybe tax focused, but because a lot of us are working from home, it seems like a lot of things, and even just with or without working from home, your mobile phone these days becomes like the primary way people contact you. And so if it's your personal mobile phone, how would you, what percentage of that would you put into this like telephone line, for example? Because it's not like necessarily fully a business expense unless you're going to get a mobile phone that's a separate device just for your business, or rent, for example, or furniture and fixtures. Like I done this before where I know, like if I buy something new, I think it has to be a new purchase, but like a new lamp, for my home office, I can, say like, put that on my Schedule C and have like depreciation over time or blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I was just curious how you would recommend we handle that as far as cash flow is concerned.
Yeah, the first is to have a separate business account and a separate bank account. And whenever you are making a purchase, and if you can prove to IRS that this is the lamp, I need it for my business, like 100% business use, then that's you. As long as you're able to justify it, I think that's the crucial question. When you come up in an audit, they will require you to produce receipts, produce some kind of explanation for those. And if you don't have an explanation, then yeah, you could get in trouble.
What about like telephone, for example, like I was asking about that?
Yeah, you could split. If you think 50% is your business, then yes, you can split 50%.
And you just put 50% of the monthly bill in this line, and then keep the other 50% out for your considered personal.
Yeah. And
would you pay that bill out of your business account or what out of your personal account?
You could pay, I would prefer to pay it from a business account and then only charge, or I think you could do either way, and then say this is 50% is my, and then you can pay 50% from at the end of the year, put all those total and pay it to yourself as expense reimbursement, and then list those expense reimbursements, and you should have proper documentation, proper explanation for that. Again, this is more like a proper IRS tax question, as you said. So don't take, this is not an IRS, I need to disclaimer it. This is not a tax advice or anything.
I understand.
But yeah, that's the general idea is, can you prove it? Is it reasonable?
Thank you.
You cannot purchase like a super expensive, like I can't purchase a Tesla for my business and without having another, like, why did you buy a Tesla? Unless I have to impress my clients and do a different, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually know somebody who bought an Audi because she was driving around, her Toyota Corolla or something, and she was trying to get high-end law clients, and she was just like, I kind of need a fancier car because they expect a lawyer to have a fancier car.
Yeah, that that if you justify it and it's reasonable, you can do that and get by. The house expense, like working from home, there are certain specific IRS rules. You got to talk to the CPA and identify that, but you can take a certain portion of your house that you use separately. You can estimate that and take it as a business expense.
Yeah, maybe one day the IRS will start to acknowledge that people work from home 24/7. Like, you know, a lot of people, whether, especially in the last year, I mean, seriously, like, I mean, everybody's house was a home office and your phone. I mean, it's just like, I feel like these days, everything is so, this is more comment than question. I should shut up. But I just feel like everything these days is so overlapping. How in the world is the IRS going to be like, oh, that lamp, you can't deduct that because, you know, that wasn't in your designated home office that you only sit in when you do your work from home, you know, like as if anybody actually operates that way. It's ridiculous. Anyway.
So just as side advice is what you want to do things that doesn't put a red flag on your file with the IRS. So even though it's a legitimate expense and everything, do you really want to go through that hassle of explaining? And then they will go through each line item and do you want that hassle for that kind of thing? If you're ready for that, yeah, go ahead with the Tesla. You have a CPA who can justify it and everything, then that's fine.
Got it. Good point.
I want to share, Maura, one more thing, since we are tight on time, if that's okay. The other presentation where I have some of the free resources that I've used in the past that have helped me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so let me share that. Stop sharing. And there are so many more resources. These are the only few I could come up on at a short notice. Not as short, like I could think of quickly. Zoom challenges, share my screen. Okay, so I put together a few slides for us to, let me know when you can see the screen.
I can see it.
Yeah. So a few bullet points I thought I learned it a little hard way. Everybody should kind of follow some of it or most of it when they get. So, you know, create a separate LLC for your business. Number one, it doesn't cost a whole lot. If you do, you could do it DIY. You could do it yourself. You can go online and register with the state of Illinois yourself online. You can find if the name is available. And if it's available, you can go ahead and register it for less than $100. The second is you can, once it's set up at the state level, you can go to IRS website and register for an EIN number. Again, this is all online. You can do it yourself. You can once you're done with those two, you can open a bank account, go to any bank and get a business account and a debit card for that. And then anytime I always have that two mindset with it. Is this my business or personal expense? And then accordingly use my business card, personal card accordingly. Administrative tips, just save everything, every receipt right on the spot. I'm having a lunch with a client, potential client. I finish the lunch. I take a picture right away of the receipt and then save it in my text folder saying lunch with so-and-so or something. So that later on, I don't need to worry about these kind of things. Google Drive, you could use Google Drive or Evernote. Somebody mentioned about Evernote earlier. So those are few things you can use to save your documents online. Accounting software, small business, they can go by Excel. There's no need to spend money on those softwares unless you definitely think there is a need. But most Excel is phenomenal for good small businesses. If you want to go further, there are these other softwares, Xero, FreshBooks, QuickBooks, as was mentioned in one of the previous presentations. As you grow the business, you can also look at outsourcing accounting work to a company that can do that for you. Roughly, I would say charge about $200. They start at $200 a month. There are folks who can do lower, but I think that's the ballpark that you would find people charging.
Is anyone already using outside accountants that charge around this price? Is that what they're getting? I don't know if people are using outside accountants yet.
Yeah.
I do. I don't pay 200 a month. My accountant I use because I'm really good at keeping my own books and QuickBooks. So at the end of the year, I send in my stuff to do my corporate tax returns. And if I have a question during the year, if something comes up and I need to talk to him about something, then, he'll bill me for that time. But I don't pay a standard 200, any money a month just to work with an accountant.
Okay, so you do a lot of your own work.
QuickBooks is if you have an accountant set it up for you and you take a nice little quick course. Libraries offer this a lot of times, QuickBooks one-on-one. It's not hard at all.
Really, that's what I was going to ask, if you set it up or if you had the accountant set it up for you. Okay.
Yeah, I did pay an accountant to set it up.
Okay.
But then, and show me, how to just enter stuff. But they have, courses like the WBDC sometimes, some of the libraries, sometimes they have, you can catch a course at the public library where an accountant's trying to sell business. So they'll run a workshop for you free, open to get you to go with them. You know what I'm saying? To hire them. But it's really intuitive. It's easy to use.
Yeah, I always say have your accountant set up your QuickBooks, get your chart of accounts in there correctly, and then, yeah, you can move forward from that.
Cool.
Unless you absolutely hate it. Marilyn, you don't mind keeping your book. Some people might hate it.
Well, then I would say, I think a bookkeeper might be cheaper than an accountant.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So if you don't want to do it, I would go with the bookkeeper, and then maybe at the end of the year, get the accountant to do the, all the returns.
Right. Yeah.
I have my accountant do my business and my personal. And generally we do a quarterly review to let me know for my estimated quarterly taxes. And then at the end, I pay him a set fee at the end of the year for both my personal and business taxes.
Okay. So you don't pay monthly?
No. I keep records as well. But if I need to talk to him along the year, he'll just let me talk with him without charging me, because I'm, doing both my taxes with him at the end of the year.
Right. Yeah. Good.
Oh, cool. Moving on. Well, there are services that usually are charging for. I think as you grow more and you need a full-time person, there are various levels of services provided at various prices. I would go with that. I think people are already familiar with stuff, so I'm going to just flip through the other slide. Google Workspace. Here are some options to have a official email of your business once you register your website and domain name. You can use Google Workspace to get a Gmail type access for your business. Some of the websites and places where you can get your business page selected. Here are a few of them. The GoDaddy, Bluehost. There's even Google domains here. So I've used Bluehost and GoDaddy before.
And now I also recommend that people use an incognito search when they're trying to determine how much their name will cost, because people will buy the name and then try to sell it to you for higher, or they'll take it.
How do you do an incognito search? How do you do that?
You go onto your search engine and you can click on the plus button above, and then it won't track your searches. Because I've heard of people searching for a domain name. Let's say you're searching for mcdonalds.com and you're doing it on your regular search engine. People will see that you're searching for this and then buy that domain name, and you'll have to buy it for a higher amount of money.
Yeah, that's funny. I just went back and searched some domain names that I had searched before that were unavailable, and now they're available. And I'm like, might
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Just the other 2-3 slides where the EIN number, how you just Google search for IRS EIN number, you can get that online. You can do it yourself or have somebody do it for you. In one of our previous presentation, they mentioned about some website where you have students doing your social media and stuff for free, where you pay. Did we talk about that for here? That
Sounds familiar. Maybe we talked about it in one of our small groups or
yeah,
something.
Arcadia or something. Arcadia.com. I can't remember.
I know Fiverr is and Upwork are where you can get freelancers.
No, so there is a website where you pay $1,200 for the whole year or similar amount for quarter, but they have people who want to get experience. They are either new voice or students in social media marketing space, and for that much amount, you will get one person working 30 hours a week for you on that website. So what happens is the other person gets experience, and you get a discounted, although not so top-notch professional, but you get something that somebody's better than you to do.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Then, of course, 3-year forecast. It's always good to have. And then I just want to throw my contact here in case anybody has any questions. Happy to help or give guidance as a team. So.
Okay, thank you so much for your help. Mehan, we appreciate it. I know we're all at different levels in finances. Some people understand it and love it. Some people are not as secure with numbers and finances. So thank you for everything. So today we discussed the homework. We learned about insurance and explored financial issues. I just wanted to finish with this quote. Your audience doesn't want you to be perfect. They want you to be present. So just remember that next week when you are doing your 2-minute pitches, and remember that we are here to help you. So let us know, email us, and thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.